Hello everyone, and welcome to Covestro's Arena at K 2022. Come on, have a seat. If you want to join us here, there's still a few free seats available. They're actually very comfortable. Of course, Covestro made them. So now we want to talk about crafting the circular economy, and we want to talk about how to close the loop in developing countries. We all know plastic waste is a huge problem globally, yes, but it's an even bigger problem in low-income countries. So we want to talk about possible solutions, what's happening locally, how can we apply that globally, how can we scale that up, what are the solutions for plastic waste in especially low-income countries. And we want to start, we have a wonderful panel here, but we want to start with an introduction from someone who's joining us live from Brazil. So I want to welcome Sonia Maria Diaz now. She's a sociologist from Brazil and a garbologist specializing in solid waste management. She's also coordinator of WIEGO's projects in Brazil. WIEGO is Women in Informal Employment, and they collect a lot of the plastic waste. So, Sonia, so good you could join us. Hello from Düsseldorf.
Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here in this event. Thanks so much for the invitation.
All right, Sonia. So I'll leave the stage to you. You'll give us a quick overview of your situation, and then you'll join the discussion. I'll get the rest of the team on the stage. So, stage is yours.
Thank you so much. If I could have some slides on, please. And so once again, thanks for joining us here, and I'm very glad to share our experience. The next slide, please. So it is important for us to acknowledge that there is an interdependence of value chains in our highly globalized economies. And the way that we tackle today's challenges related to climate change, to circular economy, to plastic pollution, and related to poorly designed and underperformed solid waste management systems depends on cooperation. Depends on cooperation and coordination amongst industry, governments, workers, and citizens at large. The Agenda 2030, which adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, makes a plea for us all to adopt a holistic understanding of our environmental challenges and act accordingly by adopting a just transition towards all these issues that we are dealing with in a way that promotes decent jobs and secure livelihoods for all. So we can no longer ignore the role and contribution of informal waste workers in solid waste management. According to estimates at the ILO, there are 20 million people making a living out of waste activities in the informal economy. The next slide, please. And although they may provide the only waste collection that there is in certain contexts of the global south, they are not fully acknowledged, and they do not receive fair remuneration for their work. Informal waste workers, and women in particular, face increased threats to their livelihoods and stigmatization from society. Such injustices include a distinction of status, where demeaning stereotypes, harassment, violence, and a lack of full rights, occupational health risks, and lack of access to resources and relevant decision-making spheres are part of their daily lives. So circular economies really need to build from what already exists, integrating the livelihoods aspects and gender empowerment of informal workers. The next slide, please. Across the world, we have seen many organized waste pickers being engaged in exploring solutions for the plastic problem by partnering with other actors to recycle waste and provide housing for waste pickers, such this example shown here from Bogota, in which the ARB, the Association of Recyclers from Bogota, has partnered with EcoWorks to produce housing for waste pickers. These are examples of how proactive organized workers can be. The next slide, please. So there is a way forward. We need to work towards a circular economy that departs from what already exists. That is, that we have informal systems of collection and processing already in place. So build from these existing systems. We need to build and design policies such as EPR systems grounded on the recognition of men and women equal rights as service providers. So gender is really important. We need to have clear policy frameworks drawn from and guided by global standards, such as the ILO Decent Work Agenda, the ILO Recommendation 204 on formalization of the informal workers, and the SDGs. And these have to be the ground from which we depart in building a just transition. And there are also a number of social corporate experiences in which organizations like the Circular Initiative, the Circular Hub, Action Hub have been working towards some policy frameworks to guide investors and corporations. Draw from it. And we need to invest and believe on workers-led alternatives, so that in the search for alternatives, we listen and draw from what workers are doing. The next slide, please. So in concluding, an inclusive circular economy is one that acknowledges workers' rights and shaping policies directed at the workers, and by including and having workers participating in social dialogue and in participatory planning. And these are the key elements of a just transition. If you want to learn more, I have a link here in this slide, which can lead you to some of our policy recommendations drafted with Grid Arendal and ISVA, the International Solid Waste Association, for a just transition at the Plastic Treaty. Thank you very much for the invitation to share.
Thank you, Sonia. I hope you can hear that applause. Thank you for this really good introduction into the topic. And I'd now like to invite the rest of our panel to come to the stage, and I'll introduce them to you. Ralf, Dana, and Karsten, are you coming? Yes.
That's true.
All right, so I'll start with you, Dana. Standing next to me is Dana Mosora. She is the founder of Dana Mosora Consulting, a company dedicated to driving the circular economy for plastic packaging. And she also works as a consultant for the European CFlex Consortium. And in 2017, so that's 5 years ago, wow, she created the ASASE Foundation in Accra, Ghana, which helps female entrepreneurs from underprivileged communities to start social enterprises locally for plastic packaging recycling. Hello, Dana. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And then next to her, we have Karsten Bleymehl. He's a material scout and circular design specialist, and he's here in his role as CEO of the Circular Materials, a company that develops and produces high-quality materials and products using waste streams and renewable resources. Hello, Karsten.
Oh.
And then, of course, we need a Covestro participant because we want to share Covestro's perspective. So standing next to him is Ralf Schneider. He's project lead of Alliance to End Plastics Waste for Covestro. And he also leads the sustainability at World's Plastic Council, representing leading multinational plastic makers such as Covestro and associations from around the world on a global political level, which is also really important. Hello, Ralf. So, Dana, since we just heard from Sonia about the situation and the perspective from WIEGO, why don't you share with us your perspective from Ghana? What's happening in Ghana, specifically in Accra? What are you doing there locally?
I'm going to start by telling you how it all started. Back in 2017, indeed, when I retired from Dow Chemical, from the polyethylene business, I went to Ghana to see what does it mean, the disaster of plastic litter and ocean plastic, where it happens. This is when I realized that we all, coming from the plastic industry, have a responsibility for the problem, which we recognize it, but don't do yet enough. So I decided to do my little part, going there, and I also decided to rely on women, because in Africa, if you really want to do something sustainable and create an impact, you're better off if you do it with women. So I started by launching the first recycling plant, really recruiting from the community. Most of them used to be waste pickers, so exactly what Sonia is talking about in terms of helping. And then we realized that a recycling plant has to be really connected with the community through collection. So this is how I expanded it all the way from picking it from the streets to producing pallets, which are then sent to those who do end products. Something about the ASASE Foundation, and by the way, ASASE means Mother Earth, so it's really getting back to respecting the environment, is the fact that we decided to work with women and close the loop of plastic in Ghana for Ghana, which is to say that we only choose customers who would do recycling and products in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So, Karsten, we just heard, about the situation from waste pickers. They're actually collecting it. So, you're sort of the next step. You're using the waste streams to actually then do something with it, but you're not doing it in Africa, as far as I know. You're not doing it in South America yet, but in India, right? So tell us about the circular materials.
Yes. So I'm here from Circular Materials, but I'm the head of product development for Plastics for Change. So I would like to talk about Plastics for Change. It's a company based in India with 10 locations where they segregate waste also. And the idea is, as we all want to take care of the waste pickers, maybe you don't know that, but in the global south, there is no waste management system in place as we know it. So 80% of the waste gets collected from an informal sector. That's a huge number. I think globally it's 50% of the waste that gets collected by those who make a living out of it. And what Plastics for Change did was they certified their supply chain as a fair trade supply chain. So they just put the principles of, we know it from coffees, fair trade coffee, into the plastic industry, in the taking care of the waste pickers, having a foundation, as we all have it, taking care and working with 7,500 waste pickers in India, building houses, education, the normal services. And yeah, that was so interesting for me that I wanted to be involved in this and help to do something with the waste, because it was not possible to process it in India. It is forbidden. It was forbidden till this year in February to do a closed loop recycling of PET bottles. So we had to ship waste to Europe. So this is a very strange situation, but we did that. Now we have also some processing capacities there and are running our own pelletizing there. But that was the beginning back in 2017.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, Ralf, obviously, I need to know what Covestro's role and perspective in all of this is, because you're a material supplier. Yes, we heard you, in many different roles throughout the last 2 days. But how do you come into the picture when it comes to local waste pickers or when it comes to establishing waste streams?
Yes. So we as Covestro, we have the vision to become fully circular. So we are doing a lot of these developments right now in developed countries. On the other side, we also have a lot of expertise. Yeah, so we know what the material is, we know how the material functions, but we also have a global business. Yeah, so we are working with customers down the value chain in different countries, but also we are more and more getting aware about we are making like this table, so not directly this table, but we are making durable applications used for years and decades, being used once, being new, then resold, then passed on, and at a certain point in time, they end up really far away around the world. So even if they have not been sold directly at that location, we are getting aware that this is ending up somewhere at locations where we have never imagined that they would really be used there, and they are really making great value. So on the other side, what is happening then with the waste if it's becoming end of life? So our contributions right now, we said that we want to also have there an insight into that. We want to co-invest into that. That's something we are co-founder of the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which is also co-funding and supporting ASASE Foundation. There's also a relationship to the informal sector. Really to identify locations where there is really where problems exist, but also where solutions can be developed. Yeah, so really to find out what are the right solutions on the ground and then support those right solutions and to scale them further. And this is something that we do together, like with the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. However, we are also doing this as Covestro together with my colleagues in India. So my colleagues in India doing exclusive business, directly working there with local small organizations, understanding what is the waste, trying to make, for example, this kind of sheets, Sonia, like you have shown, this kind of lumber profiles, and trying to also make this into a product using our raw materials again, but also sharing the knowledge to help them to get really towards a business.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, come closer to the tables. We put them here for you, so you have something to hold on to.
But we have to create space for Sonia too.
Yes, yes. We'll just make sure she is visible to our audience. So, Sonia, let me ask you. I mean, before we start talking about solutions, I want to really understand the challenges that we're facing here. And that was impressive. You said in the first slide, 20 million people actually are affected by this. Picking waste, collecting waste. So let me understand what the environmental as well as the social impacts are locally, because so many times we talk about environmental impact. Yes, it's important, but when we talk about ESG, sometimes we tend to forget the social aspects of it. So tell us from your perspective, what are especially the social impacts of plastic pollutions?
Yes, thank you for this question. I think it is really important to understand that the majority of waste pickers, particularly women, are the ones who are really bearing the burden of the environmental risks and occupational risks, while also really being the real providers of services in most global South cities. And we have our research here in Brazil and elsewhere has shown how waste pickers are particularly vulnerable in terms of OHS, occupational health systems, how they are being ignored in policy design. So it is really crucial for us to understand that they are facing the highest risks while really earning the lowest in the chain. And if we don't map out the challenges on a context-based way, we will not be able to really design policies that are effective. So in a nutshell, the challenges are related to the vast amount of risk they're exposed to, the lack of education, and professional training that these workers usually do not enjoy.
Dana, I saw you nodding. So is the same thing true for Ghana? Really high risk, minimal rewards, high health hazards. They don't have any form of insurance or protection.
Absolutely. What Sonia says rings very, very true, and it's a challenge of day to day. We do expect these people to go and pick the waste and bring it to recycling, right? But sometimes it rains, sometimes there is an explosion of different diseases like typhus, and they are struck by it and they have no medical insurance. And, you know, I employ in one plant over 40 people, and when we did a health check, we realized that 2/3 had typhus, and the cost of treating them without insurance was not something we could afford. So these are very simple examples where even if they want to make a living out of the job they have to do, they just can't because of sickness, and there are not systems in place. So can we help? Of course we can help. I'm really blessed by getting the support of the Alliance, and right now we're co-financed by the European Union as well. So we have the luxury of funds which allow us to do things. But there are so many like me who want to start these kind of initiatives, and they need access to the type of funds and support which I get. So each time I have the occasion to talk in public, I'm really asking, come and help us. You know, a company like Covestro, all these companies in the petrochemical industry have all kinds of programs in which either they donate money for causes or for things like this. Well, you can have so many occasions like this one to donate in which you can help these workers work more efficiently and collect more plastic to make it eventually products, right? But also, you know, there are programs in which young professionals, promising talents, need all you know, experiences to develop them, the better leaders of tomorrow. Send them to us, send them to the South, because they can help so much. I made a choice to take people from the community and train them on the job to become workers in a plant, where some of these people need to record the data, the production data in Excel, but they are not literate. So I also need help to train these people, to educate them, to teach them how to use Excel, how to use a computer. So there are so many opportunities from professionals who have this desire to create an impact and contribute to come and work with us.
Yes.
So education and really helping people locally is one important aspect. Karsten, what other solutions are there, concrete measures that we can take now?
Yeah, I mean, we concentrated on paying fair wages. So as we heard already, those people can barely read and write. They don't have a bank account, so we help them getting bank accounts. We have a digital system that they get paid from the waste picking, that we see that our partners paid them well. And you just have to see how was the situation in Corona. So you have a society that lives from hand to mouth on a daily basis. So you can imagine what happened with those people when there was a lockdown. So they couldn't go for work. They weren't allowed to go out in a place like India, and it's no fun if you go out. So if the police is not like in Germany. So we had to take care of these vulnerable groups with actions of normal basic food provision, nutrition. So it's really big, and it's I think it's a shame that 80% of the waste is getting collected by those people, and our society and also the industry really has to do a little bit more, because they are doing the work at the end of the day, and this needs a little bit more of contribution.
He was very polite, Ralf. He said they could do a little bit more. Let me rephrase that. They could do a lot more. So what is that you can do more? We heard about education. We heard about fair wages. Well, maybe yes. Also financial support, supporting foundations like that. So what can you do on a local level? What could you do on a global level?
Oh, good question. So yes, they were different directions were explained. And often we as a company, we think about, okay, there are technology solutions, let's make everything circular, and often quite high tech. While the solutions down there, or in developing countries and indirectly at communities, are really low tech. And you can do quite a lot with low tech. But this is something that we have to learn also as much as at the local level has to learn. So there's really a cross-learning ability. Yeah? So Andreas Brandt, I'm not sure if he's already here, but he also was for a year with his master thesis in Ghana, and he's still inspired by that because he really took away a lot how actually that works on that level. On the financial level, I think there's usually one, which is the sponsoring, the typical first thing. What I experience is that really understanding why that money is needed and not just only asking, okay, I need that, I want to have sponsoring, and here's your nice logo then on the... This is not, we get also passionate about a project. So if we understand why that money is needed, then we are also then working together, we become a partner. And then later on to understand, is this a business model perhaps, something that we can scale, something that can be replicated? Again, going back to the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, because these are also elements that are often there discussed. And then seeing, oh, it might be not our money, but I know somebody, we can help to build the funding opportunities and these kind of elements to work together towards making that a robust business case. Yeah, so I think there are various different elements, and often technology comes quite last. Yeah, so in this process right now where we are in.
Yeah, Sonia, you're nodding, you're agreeing, I guess. So tell me, what are your expectations? What are your wishes, your hopes for the developed countries and the industries and companies like Covestro to do? Concrete measures.
Yes, I'm nodding, with a lot of inputs that my colleagues have already made, because I think, just drawing from what Casper said, fair wages, it's really crucial, and Dana touched upon issues that are also very important related to social protection. And again, nodding with what Ralph has just said, we really, what happens here in the Global South is that most mayors try to mimic what happens in the Global North. So they go for capital intensive technologies rather than build from what already exists.
Yeah.
There are a number of examples of very good solid waste management systems built from what already exists. So for me, these are key. So as moving forward, we need to really educate city officers, policymakers, both at national to local levels, and also the industry, to really understand that if we want to make progress as humanity towards the environmental challenges that we have, we need to take on the ethical challenge to do things in a sustainable way. And if we have learned from Rio conference, 1992 conference, if we have learned from the SDGs and all the other, key global policy debates, we can only do that combining the environmental and social approach. So there is a lot to be done in terms of changing mindsets at industry and government levels.
All right, a lot to be done. Last question, because we're almost out of time. Dana, what are your expectations? What are your hopes when it comes to also collaborating with the industry or partners like Covestro? What do you wish for them to do? How can they help you?
I really wish that the experts in Europe, that the industry in Europe, in the north, sees the business opportunity in the south. Because also, after 35 years in corporate, I know that nobody will do anything if a business case does not exist. And I see the business case in the south. And if we look at the business case and adopt the solutions to develop that business case for the industry in Europe, there is a win-win situation. We need to work together.
All right, the need for education. See the business cases. Karsten, what are your expectations, your hopes for the industry to get? I mean, you're part of the northern hemisphere, but still you're very active in the southern.
I think Covestro does a good job in providing also this audience, because I think the issue is not very well known. That is really on the spot. And for me, it's like when I say industry should do a little bit more, maybe also towards consumers that will also make a change in their purchase, so they could purchase products where is a certified amount of recycled content, but then it's a social aspect that comes on top of this. So this is, I think we are all having products with recycled content, but the question is, and this would be my my takeaway also for the industry, to think about the social component that also recycled content could have to develop in other countries where there is a need to develop. I mean, we are here living on the on a very good, well-educated and very broad system of recycling, but the rest of the world is in another place. And if this could travel, and I'm really like that we are talking about it here, that would be my wish.
So, Karsten, this is your chance with a call to action to your colleagues to really tell them what you want them to do, and to maybe spread the word around the world in the industry.
I guess today with this panel, but this was really also intended to invite a diverse group of different organizations from on the ground. I think to show that actually there's dialogue possible. There's really a great, rich insight and really some great learning for us. Something that we have to rethink our processes, our thinking also, and really learning from you. At the same time also then contributing and trying exactly with that passion to also tip with a toe or with a whole foot into certain markets which we have not really tapped into. If not a market, but at least travel there, be there, to spend some time to really try to understand and then work step by step into that kind of direction. So I'm not saying directly you need to get from zero to hero directly with no time, like we and directly have the same, but really go on that way, go together on that way with organizations like you are here present today.
So start now, start simple, start talking to each other, learning about different perspectives, learning about what's really going on the ground locally, and understanding their perspectives, because that's what it's all about here also on the stage, to share perspectives, finding the connections where we come together, find joint solutions. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you, Sonia, for joining us from Brazil. I'm really happy it all worked out. Technology is a bliss sometimes. So thank you for sharing your experiences, your perspectives, and if you want to talk to them, maybe one-on-one after, I guess you're still here for a couple of minutes. So thank you once again. This is your applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.